Well, hello. How are you guys? I hope you're living a vibrant and passionate life. I know it's the thick of winter for many of you. You're experiencing all kinds of difficulties, hardships, challenging circumstances, which are good for you. I know it's not fun. It's not ideal. But hey, if you have an opportunity, walk barefoot on that fresh fallen snow. I'm telling you, transformational. It's incredibly good for you. It really is. Now, ideally, not in those minus 50-degree weather. You know what I'm saying? Some of you need to stir up your constitution, to firm them up, toughen up. You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff. It's absolutely profound what it'll do for your body. I'm not talking about barefoot on ice, but barefoot on fresh fallen snow will invigorate you. You'll be all kinds of enthusiastic afterwards. I assure you of this. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're back for another episode of the War of the Ages. Yes. We're going to deal with all kinds of stuff from the shadow of death to the wonderful counselor, El Gabor. Father, continuity. Come on. I dove into Isaiah recently. You ever been in there? Fantastic book. Exhilarating. And we're going to jump into John. Crazy, insane things. The ruler of this age, the authority, the ruler of the earth. Who is the ruler of the earth? And why did he have dominion in order to cast out mankind? You know what I'm talking about here? There's one supreme leader on the earth in the fleshly realm that people are always looking for. Like, who's the big bad guys behind the scenes? Who's the big shot caller behind those bad guys? And how do we overcome? How do we persevere amidst this season of incredible difficulties? Anyways, we're going to jump right into Isaiah 9 because this is just fantastic. Check this out. But there is no gloom upon her who is distressed, as when at first he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea, beyond the Yarden, in the Galilee of the nations. The people who were walking in darkness have seen a great light. Upon those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, a light has shone. You shall increase the nation. You shall make its joy great. They shall rejoice before you as in the joy of the harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For you shall break the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every boot of one trampling in tumult and coat rolled in blood shall be used for burning and fuel of fire. For a child is born unto us, a son is given unto us, and the rule is on his shoulder. And his name is called Wonder, Counselor, Strong El. That's El Gibor. The reason I'm like super passionate about the Gibor, the Giborim, you know, because there's two main versions that we have in the scriptures. I have an entire playlist that's called Becoming Gibborim, Becoming Gibbor, right? Mighty men of valor, mighty women of valor, strong, courageous, brave ones. But then there's this like counterforce to that of those that are made mighty in deeds of rebellion, in deeds of like iniquity, who have darkened their minds, seared their consciences with a hot iron. They've given themselves over to do wickedness continually. Like they're embracing the power of darkness. And then there's those others that are embracing the power of the spirit of truth, right? Let's go over to John 14, because this is like when our Messiah, like the anointed one, when the Son of righteousness came with healing in his wings, this prophesied one who the nation of Israel had been crying out, waiting for, believing and longing for, the one who had come, greater prophet than Moses, right? Moses tells the people, he's like, hey, check this out. Someone's going to come, greater prophet than me. Hear him, obey his voice. He was pointing to the Messiah, He's all over the scriptures. And it's one of the most beautiful, powerful encouragements that we have, that when he came, he also gave us the Holy Spirit, the set apart spirit, this force of deliverance, this power from on high that could fill us with an overwhelming zealousness for his kingdom, like the zeal of Yahweh would accomplish. That was Isaiah 9. There's a little bit more. Let me jump back 1 second here, because I'm looking for zealousness all the time. That's like one of the hallmark characteristics of power, right? Total zealousness. This scripture's translation translates it as order, like zealousness. The Father of continuity, the Prince of peace. Of the increase of his rule and peace, there is no end upon the throne of David and over his reign, to establish and sustain it with right ruling and with righteousness from now on, even forever. The order, zealousness of Yahweh of hosts does this. Yahweh sent a word against Jacob, and it has fallen on Yisrael, and the people shall know all of them, Ephraim and the inhabitant of Shamaron, who say in pride and greatness of heart, the bricks have fallen down, but we rebuild with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we replace them with cedars. This is like the hallmark characteristics of prideful ones, that in their ruinous heap, like Nahash in the garden, this fiery serpent, every time basically whenever he gets destroyed or his house gets destroyed, this like esoteric phoenix rises from the ashes. This is like the ideology that the kingdom of darkness embraces, is that they will rebuild from their place of destruction, and out of that they'll be born again even stronger. This is really like novus ordo seclorum. This is like order out of chaos. This whole ideology that these people have embraced, it comes from the God of this age, the ruler of this world. That is his ideological endeavor, that fire that got put into him that consumes him with madness, makes him believe always to rebuild continually from those heaps of ashes after his kingdoms get torn down, that he just immediately rebuilds. And these were the words that were quoted by our president and by our leaders and governing officials after 9/11, and these like self-fulfilling prophecies that they orchestrated and created during the mass ritual of 9/11 and all of the trauma-based mind control that went in with it. They were quoting these exact words from here, that they're like, we're going to be like the old prideful kings of old, and we're going to rebuild with stronger stones this time and everything else. But that being said, Yahuwah humbles them tremendously. And even in their minds, they get blinded through that pride. That is their greatest downfall. And Yahuwah set up the adversaries of Retzin against him and stirred up his enemies, the Arameans before and the Philistines behind, and they devour Yisrael with an open mouth. And with all this, his displeasure has not turned back, and his hand is still stretched out. And the people have not turned back to him who strikes them, nor have they sought Yahuwah of hosts. When we go through those chastisements, when we experience those sufferings, those persecutions, they are to, like a father disciplining his son. This is literally the words, Hebrews. Check this out. Oh, this is so good. I love Hebrews. We're going to jump to Hebrews 12. Come on. My children and I were reading this a lot. If you got children, Hebrews 12 should be near and dear to your heart. You know what I'm saying? You should. It's one of those verses you're like, we're going to have to talk about this a lot because this is discipline. We too, then, having so great a cloud of witnesses all around us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race set before us, looking to the Prince and Perfecter of our belief, Yeshua, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, having despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. For consider him who endured such opposition from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and faint in your lives, yet have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And you have forgotten the appeal which speaks to you as sons. My son, do not despise the discipline of Yahuwah, nor faint when you are reproved by him. For whom Yahuwah loves, he disciplines, and flogs every son whom he receives. If you endure discipline, Elohim is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom a father does not discipline? But if you are without discipline, of which all became sharers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Moreover, we indeed had fathers of our flesh disciplining us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much rather be subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed disciplined us for a few days as seemed best to them. Some of us for a lot longer, right? You know what I'm saying? Some of us required continual discipline, lots of pruning. But afterward, it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness. Oh, let me back up. For they indeed disciplined us for a few days as seemed best to them. But he does it for our profit, so that we might share his apartness. And indeed, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterward, it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So strengthen the hands which hang down and the weak knees. Make straight paths for your feet, lest the lame be turned aside, but instead be healed. Pursue peace with all, and pursue apartness with which no one shall see the master. See to it that no one falls short of the favor of Elohim, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, by which many become defiled. Oh, that root of bitterness, real quick. We're going to talk plants for a second too, and we're going to talk about magicians. Okay. Simon the sorcerer, Simon the magician. You ever heard about this guy? Acts, the book of Acts, showdown times. right? There are these beautiful passages throughout the scripture of just ridiculous showdowns between those that are walking in the dynamite power of the set apart spirit and those that are walking in the power of iniquity. You know what I'm saying? One of the most powerful sorcerers at the time, who still plagued the people for a long time after this showdown. Let me just put it this way: Simon the magician. Let me show you guys this. Check this out. You ready for this? Acts chapter 8. And going down, dude, Philip is like the powerhouse. This is one of the guys who gets filled with the power of the Spirit like never before. You know what I'm saying? The goal for any like remnant army to truly be like is Philip. Philip is like one of the embodiments of those Gibborim, those mighty warriors that we should be like looking to as his example, as one of like the icons of our faith, one of those heroes of our faith. People we should study their lives diligently. That's Acts chapter 8. And Shaul was giving his approval to his death. And on that day, there was great persecution against the assembly, which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered throughout the countries of Yehuda and Shamaron, except the emissaries. And dedicated men buried Stephanos and made great lamentation over him. But Shaul was ravaging the assembly, entering every house and dragging off men and women, putting them in prison. Then those who had been scattered went everywhere, bringing the good news, the word. And going down to the city of Shamaron, Philip proclaimed Messiah to them. And the crowds with one mind heeded what Philip said, hearing and seeing the miracles which he did. For unclean spirits came out of many who were possessed, crying with a loud voice, and many who were paralyzed and lame were healed. These are the signs and wonders that are accompanying those who are walking in the authority of the Messiah. These are the fruit of the Spirit that was promised to those who believe. This is like why we're supposed to go out and do deliverance, why we're supposed to engage the kingdom of darkness when he crosses our territory. Like demons cried out when Yeshua walked into the room. He didn't like sit in there, walk into the room and start calling out all the demons. They were crying out to him. They understood a man filled with authority when he walked in the room. Same thing is starting to take place. There's a demonstration of power for the unbelievers to draw them towards the faith. And there came to be great joy in that city. Now there was a certain man called Shimon, who formerly was practicing magic in the city and astonishing the people of Shamaron, claiming to be someone great, to whom they were all giving heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, "This one is the power of Elohim, which is great." And they were giving heed to him because for a long time he had amazed them with his magic. This is like entertained them, bewitched them, hypnotized them, like entranced them through his magic. And when they believed Philip as he brought the good news about the reign of Elohim and the name of Yeshua Messiah, both men and women were immersed. We talked about that last time, Romans chapter 8, understanding the power of immersion. And Shimon himself also believed. And when he was immersed, he continued with Philip and was amazed, seeing the miracles and signs which took place. And when the emissaries who were at Jerusalem heard that Shamaron had received the word of Elohim, they sent Kepha and Yochanan to them, who, when they had come down, prayed for them to receive the set apart spirit. For he had not yet fallen on any of them, but they had only been immersed in the name of the Master Yeshua. Then they laid hands on them and they received the set apart spirit. And Shimon, this is the magician, seeing that through the laying on of the hands of the emissaries, the set apart spirit was given, he offered them money, saying, "Give me this authority too, so that anyone I lay hands on shall receive the set apart spirit." The Kepha said to him, "Let your silver perish with you, because you thought to buy the gift of Elohim through money. You have neither part nor lot in this matter, for your heart is not right before Elohim. Repent, therefore, of this evil of yours, and plead with Elohim to forgive you the intention of your heart. For I see that you are poisoned by bitterness and bound by unrighteousness." But Shimon answering said, "Plead with the master for me, so that none of what you said shall come upon me." That poison of bitterness, like we were talking about in Hebrews 12, right? These bindings of unrighteousness, okay? When I was a tomato vine dresser, you start out by training these tomatoes, right? Just like we're supposed to train up our children in like a serious parallel way, like in no uncertain terms. You plant out these little seedlings, okay, in a seed tray, plant all these seeds, and then you put them in little pots, tiny little plugs basically, and then you upplant them into a little bit bigger one. And then when they're tall enough, you plant them directly into your permanent bed that they're going to live in the rest of their life. Then we came along, we had these trellises that hung above them. All right. This is like the prune wrap and drop method of tomato vine dressing. Other people just butch them. Most people grow tomatoes in these little cages and they're like, yay. Tomatoes can be a bush. They much rather they want to be a vine. They thrive as vines. They do much better in life as a vine. That's what they're made to do. They're made to sit around the base of trees and climb up them, and shrubs. They want to climb up shrubs in particular. They love doing that. If you plant your tomatoes at the base of your not super thick, dense trees or your shrubs, they will bloom. They will love it. They will create a symbiotic relationship with the tree, especially if that tree is something like a nitrogen fixer. Like if you got black locust, honey locust, if you've got anything that fixes nitrogen, grabs nitrogen out of the air and dumps it down into the soil and feeds the soil life in the ground with it or in its body. You put your tomatoes down, and tomatoes love nitrogen. They go crazy for it, right? They need lots of it. You put those things together, man, they will thrive. I used to plant these little, I wasn't supposed to, but I was planting these little tomato seedlings at the base of trees on the property and just watching them flourish. They were going crazy. They were so happy and they would just climb all over these trees. It was amazing. And they didn't require me to do all the maintenance that was required on the other side of it. But we take these little plastic clips, we clip them onto the base of the tomato vine, and then we have a string that's attached to a spool that's on that wire about 6 feet up in the air. As the tomato grows, you begin to select which vine is going to be the primary leader. Only one is going to be a primary leader. And then we would separate as they send out these little shoots, and suckers or shoots, they'll call them, right? They want to grow basically an entire additional plant. They want to just shoot out these little shoots and suckers in order to spread all over the place to try to multiply. But you can prune those off as it grows so that you're only allowing all the nutrients to get consolidated into one leader or two or a second one. And so then as you're pruning those off though, you're training that plant. I only want nutrients to go here. I don't want it to go anywhere else. And then,
all right, here's one. Here we go. Now we got something to work with here. All right, so we see here, main shoot going up. Then we have a branch right there. Right there. It dips up here, comes off this way, and we have another one going this way. Now, which of these is going to grow the main stalk? Well, we're going to come down here. We see there's some flowers coming off. Oh my gosh, look, there's another cluster. See, this one's all needing to be trimmed up here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of these that we want to keep and which one we think the main stalk is actually following and tracking. And then the rest of them, what you're going to do is you just literally snip them. Snip them. I always want to try to keep this main guy happy as a tomato in a hothouse. So yeah, you're always looking for those sneaky sows that are slanked in there like this guy. All that stuff. Yep. So you cut them off. And the tomato is so much happier and has all that nutrients to work with now. Good day, and the shade is coming as the sun is setting over the bamboo forest. We're calling home right now. Good day.
Up, you wrap it around this string, and so you're teaching it to go vertical towards the light so that it can get the most amount of light that it possibly can. And then when it gets all the way up to the top, you release the spool and you allow that string to come down again, and then the plant kind of comes down along one side and is still pointing the good majority of it, but then the bottom of it, where the fruit is, where those tomatoes are, lay down on the ground, and then they're easy to be picked and harvested.
Hey there, in the tomato house. We're just harvesting today, harvesting some heirlooms. So these are the Tommy, beautiful heirloom tomato. It's just a nice neon pink tomato. I really love it. It's a really vibrant dark pink. As you can see, as we're going along, we're gonna be harvesting all the dark pink ones here. All these dark pink ones. Really, really beautiful. And all the way down there.
And this continues on. I mean, we would have sometimes 18 or 22 inches of growth a week. It was unbelievable. So I had to prune these shoots and suckers constantly. And the more I did that early on, especially if I did that well, and I did that at the right timing, it allowed this plant to just grow and thrive. But if I missed these windows, okay, if you don't train that plant correctly, or if you select the wrong leader, when you have this vertical stem that's going up, and if you pick one that's like growing out, this next sucker that you're going to train, if you pick the next one that's growing out at too obtuse of an angle or too, this causes some serious problems. If you pick one that's growing at this kind of an angle, as that plant thickens and grows, what you can have happen is those will split. They'll literally rip themselves apart, and now it can kill the vine entirely. And so you have to be very careful as to which one you're going to choose. But this takes experience. It takes time to learn these lessons. And believe me, these are costly lessons when someone's profit is entirely gain on this. But the other thing that you learn too is if you wrap that string too tight around the tomato vine as it grows older and as it matures later on, you can literally have that string cut into the vine itself as it thickens and as it grows and as it matures. So you have to have this exact right balance. And this is exactly what we have to have with our children, which is the proper application of discipline and structure in order to give them the guide rails that they need, in order to preserve for them an environment that gives them the best possible conditions to grow and to thrive and to bear forth that good fruit. But if they, as they're wrapping that up, or those experiences that come along in their life, they get wounded by the world or by experiences that are brutal. Bitterness is one of those things that poisons the heart. It literally is an absolute detriment to the permanent life that is supposed to be flowing through that child, flowing through those people.
Ask her some more questions.
Hi, Julie. Can you talk to me? Wow. Wow, Michelle, is that cold? Wow.
Tell us, Sal.
No.
Do the next one. Oh, that's too deep. Oh, well, that's okay. Okay, one more. Okay. All right, are we about done?
Yep, we're done.
Okay. Hi, Juju. Say hi, Mimi. Can you say hi to Mimi?
Mama,
Mimi.
Mama.
Oh, Mama. Mama and Boo Boo. Sounds about right. What you doing, Nate?
Making a little ball for the thing.
Well, we're having fun playing in the water this morning. Got some carrots going. Nathan is riding on the tractor with Eck. We're making some beds this morning. Nate's learning how to do all this stuff. Pretty cool. Say bye-bye, Mimi. Bye-bye.
Mimi.
Bye-bye.
What do you got going on in there?
So we got the puppies and we're washing them.
What are you washing them with?
We're washing them with soap nuts and water in the washing machine. Gotta get him a little more wet. Now I'm gonna
Soap
grab
nuts?
him. Yeah, and then this, the look at his face. It's so cute because it's wet. And then I want to look at Horsey. Oh, she's full.
Oh, she snagged her bridle. Oh,
Look
no.
at her.
Oh, we got to twist up. Oh, that was close. You got to get that untangled for her. Why don't you take that off of her while she's in there? Otherwise she could really get choked out. Look at the color of that water. Terrific.
Oh, let's just not do her.
Oh. Scared me. You can dry her out. Put her in the spin bowl.
I'm tortilla pressing and pressing the tortillas right now.
Have you done a lot of these before?
Yes, a lot's out to coat.
Yes. You did very,
Pretty
very
much
good.
more out to coat than right now.
Yeah, and at the Keener families?
Yeah, at the canners too.
Yep, you
I
made
did
a
a good
lot.
amount. Aunt Sadie helped me.
Yeah. You've really got the hang of it, though.
And I know how to flip them, which most children don't like. Let's go. We were only here for a minute. I told you, you didn't have your seat on. Ram the button. No. No, Dad. Dum, dum, dum.
This is what the stronghold was. This was the door that the adversary used to open up a avenue of enterprise in Simon the magician. It was an absolute willingness to commit unrighteousness, to break the commands of Yahuwah, to pull in and draw in that iniquity force. But it was clearly that there was a wound that took place in his life that he had unrepentant forgiveness. He had bitterness of heart over. That's that thing that was poisoning him, that created that door where that darkness, where that evil spirit that was possessing him and ruling, and it was making him desire to be great. He desired the fame. He desired the power of the crowd. He wanted the praise of men. And it had corrupted him to such an extent that he was willing to embrace this path of magical workings in order to get it. He understood that he could use silver to buy text. He could use his money to buy wisdom, to buy knowledge, to buy occult information. This is the snare that so many people who get caught up in the occult that end up on these runaway trains, is they're continually pursuing it. Similar to the cult of Scientology that pursues this enlightenment, this own pathwork of enlightenment in its own ways and going clear and all the rest of it through money, through massive amounts of money. These are the same ways that so many occult groups operate in order to try to keep people snared in. But that root is that rotten, unproductive soil in so systemically evil ways. But I digress. This authority that he saw demonstrated was what took him out of it. He needed to see a greater authority in order to prove there's something greater out there. And he desired that, but he desired it for the wrong reasons. He didn't desire it out of the sincerity of freedom and hope and deliverance. He desired it from the form of power. He wanted that power so that he could do signs and wonders, so that the people would turn back towards him. And really, this is where one of the greatest enemies of the faith got rooted in, is people that have a form of godliness and deny the power thereof. That he needed freedom from that, but he didn't get it there. Now let's go over to where we see the Messiah promising these opportunities to come their way. That the Messiah was giving us that great spirit as a seal for us to know that we were his. This is John 14. If you love me, let's back up for 1 second here. And whatever you ask, let's go back a little further here. This is such a good chapter, you guys. This is one of the best ones. These are like his final words. Some of the most important words that he ever said throughout his entire life was in this moment. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. For in my Father's house are many staying places. And if not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Man, I got to stop here, because the last time there was a season in our life, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Yeah, maybe 18 months ago, where we were living in our RV, and like our life could change very, very quickly, where we would have a total peace in an environment that we were staying in for a while. And then all of a sudden the peace would lift and we were like, we have to go. We need to relocate like right now or very soon. And we were going through one of those quick transitionary phases, and I had no idea where we were going to go next. I had no idea what we were going to do. And I was crying. I remember sitting there crying and just praying for the Father to help me understand what we were supposed to do now. Because the longer you stayed somewhere, a lot of times in the RV, it's easier to just get comfortable and settle in. It's a lot of work to uproot your life over and over and over and over again. Like, you get exhausted of it. And I was getting more and more exhausted of it, because also we were accumulating more stuff as we were going along. We had this passion in our ministry to try to feed people and clothe people with the LinenRailroad, like in particular. And like, my wife has such a love for it. She has such a passion for the LinenRailroad. For her, I feel like in so many ways that is part of the ministry that the Father entrusted to her, that makes her feel united in ministry with me in a powerful way. For her, that's an expression of her giftings, her talents, her joys. She loves finding treasures for people at thrift stores and giving people good gifts. She just loves to do that. She has a passionate way of doing that. And for us, finding grain and making sure people have access to grain and fresh milled flour. Like, we've seen it transform our life in such a powerful way. We've seen it transform so many thousands of people's lives across this country and across the world. We want people to experience that. And she has this love for it. So
We have the living bread station has arrived. So we have the milling zones. People are able to get their bread cranked out. Lots of grain here that we have ready to go. So people can mill it here. There's instruction booklets, how to use things. We got salt, we got olive oil. We have bags for people to take their flour, put it in. The bowl of the bread of life, the kneading bowl. Blessed is your kneading bowl. Fresh milk flour. Essential recommendation books. Free publicity there. Audiobooks. Other recommended readings. Essential readings. Some of the best ever. War in the Shadows. And then over here.
Trying to do that from an RV, though, was really difficult because you need a warehouse. You need to store. You literally have to store garments up. We would have bags and bags of garments and boxes and nature treasure chests, all this stuff we were trying to do to send out seeds to people. We love sending out seed packets to people as well. And these were like some of the things that we love to do, but that has to get put on hold immediately when we were like moving, when we were rolling out. And so all this stuff that you accumulate when you're stationary, books and things to be able to ship out to people, suddenly you've got to find a place for it. And it just became this kind of overwhelming, exhausting nightmare every time we were trying to move. And I was just so tired of it. And I didn't want to have to do it. And I didn't know where we were going to go. And he literally, as I was praying, put this chapter on my heart. And he starts those words, "Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many staying places." And I'd never heard this version of it spoken that way. You know, like in my Father's house are many rooms. That's how I've heard most translations render it. But the staying places is what I needed. I needed to know that the Father had lots of places for us to stay. He had lots of opportunities for us. And now to consider, we've probably moved like from that spot over 24 times since then. But because of that, we've got to see him provide for us many staying places. We have seen him enrich our lives in such a powerful way and give us the freedom from a lot of that lifestyle. I was weary of doing the RV lifestyle. I'm very happy to be able to move into homes now. And we still move a lot, but it's a lot different than having to move constantly with our RV. What a freedom and a joy it is because we're able to do things that we wanted to do, and he's freed us up from them.
What do grackles mean to the Reynolds, Chell?
Oh, we love them. It means Walmart parking lot life. I remember we tried to go to bed one night at the Walmart parking lot, and the grackles were this loud outside our RV window, and they were perched up in a tree in the Walmart parking lot and just squawking away like this. And we were like, I've never heard so many birds in my life. They were migrating down south just like we were.
They're coming back.
And now they're coming back. It's finally getting warm enough and they're coming back. Look at them. Wow. Look up, girls. Look up. Oh!
So anyways, I just encourage you. A lot of you guys are going through a lot of transitions right now. And I know what it feels like to not know where tomorrow's going to lead you. But please understand, he's warning us about being troubled and anxious. The world gives us a false form of peace. And it's one that brings a lot of sorrow. But we're going to read in John 14 later on about the peace that he gives. Thomas said to him, "Master, we do not know where you're going. And how are we able to know the way?" Yeshua said to him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father too. From now on, you know him and have seen." Philip said to him, "Master, show us the Father, and it is enough." Yeshua said to him, "Have I been with you so long, and you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. And how do you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak from myself, but the Father who stays in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father in me. Otherwise, believe me because of the works themselves. Truly I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. And whatever you ask in my name, that I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever, the Spirit of the truth, whom the world is unable to receive, because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. I shall not leave you orphans. I am coming to you. Yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me, but you shall see me. Because I live, you shall live. In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. Yehuda, not the one from Kiriath, said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Yeshua answered him, If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you sent, which you hear, is not mine, but of the Father who sent me. These words I've spoken to you while I was still with you. But the Helper, the set apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all and remind you all that I said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. That is the world always trying to give us something. They're trying to give us the quick fix, but it doesn't satisfy. It never gives us the cure that we truly need. This entire world is engineering us towards a direction where we can have a quick fix, where we can have a symptom turned off. But the true cure takes time. Like, this is one of the biggest things we've learned with a lot of the naturopathic approaches towards like remedies and treatments. They often take way longer. Like, they don't cure you they don't fix it as quickly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the symptoms don't go away as quickly. There's a lot of ways to cure a headache that can happen through drugs much more quickly. But then, like, you learn over time, what are some of the ways that we can cure that? Like, getting in cold water, standing in cold water up to your knees is one of the more effective ways of getting rid of a headache, getting rid of a migraine. That is not comfortable. And that's also not practical for a lot of people. It's a lot easier for them to just take an Advil. You know what I'm saying? But there's a longer term benefit that you're going to get from that, because you're dealing with the symptom, the root of the symptoms. You're teaching your body to activate the healing mechanisms that were put inside of it, and to utilize those tools in order to free yourself from the oppression, the experience that you're dealing with. But that's an arduous process. That's something that takes time and a deliberate course of action. It takes time to rewire your body to drink water. Most people are incredibly chronically dehydrated, and their brains are just flexing on their skulls, and they're like, I'm uncomfortable. Drink water. It's like default answer when my children are like, I have a headache. I'm like, drink water. It's like brainwashed into me from the military on one side of it too. Just drink tremendous amounts of water. Put salt in it. Get your C90 salt. You know what I'm saying, you guys? Baja Sea Gold salt. Delicious. Best salt in the world. Anyways, C90, like the ocean sea. That kind of C90. You'll thank me later. You can find it at a lot of farm stores, agricultural supply stores. That's what we use. It's delicious. Anyways, Yeshua has promising us the cure towards the false problems of anxiety that the world is always dealing with. But check this out. You heard that I said to you, I am going away and I am coming to you. If you did love me, you would have rejoiced that I said, I am going to the Father, for my Father is greater than I. And now I've told you before it takes place, that when it does take place, you shall believe. I shall no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and he possesses none at all in me. But in order for the world to know that I love the Father, and that as the Father commanded me, so I am doing. Rise up, let us go from here. That he is talking about, literally, Hasatan, the dragon himself, is about to walk into the room, and he's about to enter into the heart of Judas Iscariot, right? The Sicario, Judas, the betrayer of him. He's about to enter into his heart and lead him to go after the betrayal of the Messiah. Understand something, like the root cause of which, that stronghold that allowed Judas to be taken captive by the dragon to do his desire, to do his will, was mammon, the love of money. He had a greediness for gain. He had a love of silver. That's what the door was that the enemy used in order to take him captive to do his desire. This is like what we read about in John, 2 Corinthians, when it talks about ways that the ruler of this world, this is one of those passages you should function around in John 12. Another time we hear about the ruler of this world. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world shall be cast out. Him coming here, Yeshua coming here, was literally him getting in an absolute showdown with the principality of this world. He was coming, and the reason he got tested so hard in the very beginning was to try to derail him from all the signs and the wonders and the miracles for the dethronement of the God of this age. Like Satan had up until this time the legal right to the earth. He took it from Adam when he went through the beguiling process. He got to take captive the souls of mankind. He got to execute judgment against mankind as the ruler of this age. And during the time of fasting, when Yeshua has this showdown with the devil, like we'll go to Luke 4 here, one of the best moments where you see this great showdown, because you get to hear about like what is the legal authority of the structure that was taking place here at the time. And Yeshua, being filled with the set apart spirit, returned from the Yarden and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, being tried for 40 days by the devil. So many times when you hear this story, you guys, or you think about this story, you think about the temptation of Yeshua, like taking place at the very end. Like, I don't know why my entire life when I heard this story talked about, I just assumed that at the end of it, when Yeshua was like most vulnerable and most weak, that's when the devil showed up, the dragon showed up to tempt him. It said he was tested by the devil for 40 days. Think about this. The devil, the dragon, is personally challenging the Messiah over and over again, probing him. Okay. We have a showdown that takes place over three specific times, but this went on for 40 days, an incredible endurance match. You know what I'm saying? And in those days, he did not eat at all. And afterward, when they had ended, he was hungry. And the devil said to him, "If you are the Son of Elohim, command this stone to become bread." But Yeshua answered him, saying, "It has been written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of Elohim." And the devil, taking him up on a high mountain, showed him all the reigns of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, "All this authority I shall give you, and their esteem, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. If then you worship before me, all shall be yours." And Yeshua answering said, "Get behind me, Satan, for it has been written, you shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and him only shall you serve." The devil, the dragon, this is why I tell people he has this ability to show time, show the future, because he literally took the Messiah up there and showed him all the kingdoms of the world, in a moment of time. He showed him it's not past things, because what appeal is it if someone just shows you the things that had been? But it shows him all the kingdoms of the world, all the different reigns, all the different princes that would rise up, the kings, the monarchies, the emperors. He's showing them all of them in a moment of time, and he's offering them to be his. That is one of the powers that is seductive to people that get into worshiping and seeking after the God of this age, because they want to have access to that. He's the shot caller. He's the one who is literally why there's these prophecies of these people, like the Oracle of Delphi in Corinth. The reason Paul's writing these letters to the people in Corinth, because they were the epicenter, like front and center of the oracles of Delphi that were the temple that was in that region. They were renowned for having these prophecies, the prophetic abilities. Where does that come from? It comes from the spirit of the serpent. Even the girl that was possessed with the spirit of Python, they have this showdown with the apostles because she's out there proclaiming prophecies. People were paying lots of money to hear these prophecies, to have them come to pass. Kings would travel from all over the world to go to the oracles of Delphi at Corinth to have them tell them prophecies about the future. And some of these we have documentation that they came to pass. The devil and these evil spirits have the ability to prophesy. It's talked about in Deuteronomy, warning us, hey, if a prophet comes to you and says this such a thing is going to come to pass, and it does come to pass, check and see their fruit. Do they lead you astray from keeping these commands, from telling you, advocating guarding the commands of Yahuwah? If they lead you astray from that, know that this has been sent to test you. These are like ways that we can discern spirits, test the spirits. That's why in 1 John you're warned, like, believe not every spirit, but test the spirits to know whether they're of Elohim, because many false spirits have been sent out into the world. They're leading people astray. This is the great way that the gods of this age are manipulating the minds of men. This is the war of mankind's greatest struggle that we deal with on a regular basis, is all these lying spirits that are going out and seducing people and leading them astray. Like for 2 Corinthians 4:4. And indeed, if our good news has been veiled, it has been veiled in those who are perishing, in whom the mighty one of this age has blinded the minds of the unbelieving, so that the enlightening of the good news of the esteem of Messiah, who is the likeness of Elohim, does not shine on them. For we do not proclaim ourselves, but Messiah, Yeshua the Master, and ourselves, your servants, for the sake of Yeshua. For Elohim, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," is the one who has shone in our hearts for the enlightening of the knowledge of the esteem of Elohim in the face of Yeshua Messiah. And we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that the excellence of the power might be of Elohim and not of us, being hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, being perplexed, but not in despair, being persecuted, but not forsaken, being thrown down, but not destroyed, always bearing about in the body the dying of the Master Yeshua, that the life of Yeshua might also be manifested in our body. The gods of this age have this power of deceiving us, of blinding people. We were sent out to try to open the eyes of the blind, right? Some of the most powerful words that we ever have, Isaiah 58, our great commissions are on this earth. Power of fasting, by the way. There's a reason Yeshua fasted for 40 days. I've talked to quite a few brothers and sisters over the years who've done similarly, fasted for 40 days because they had a major decision to make. Fasting is one of the most important tools that you have in your arsenal of warfare, one of the greatest weapons that you can have in contending with problems, strongholds in your life. Some of these spirits literally cannot be cast out of people except by prayer and fasting. Even that showdown with the spirit of Python, they took like a multi-day break there. It says for many days, this gal was crying out, following the apostles around, being like, these are truly the workers of righteousness. These are the sons of Elohim. Like, these people are demonstrating power and authority. And he's all ticked off and annoyed by them. It's like they keep following me around, and annoyed them. It may have been because he was going to go fast for a few days in order to cast out that stronghold. Believe me, when you're dealing with some of these serious stronghold, like people that have many, many spirits in them, people that are active agents of evil, you need to take some time to gird up the loins of your mind and be prepared for war, because it's not so easy every single time. Check this out. It is the fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his being? Is it to bow down his head like a bulrush and to spread out sackcloth and ashes? Do you call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahuwah? Is this not the fast that I have chosen? To loosen the tight cords of wrongness, to undo the bands of the yoke, to exempt the oppressed, and to break off every yoke. Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked, and cover him, and hide not yourself from your own flesh, then your light would break forth like the morning, your healing spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The esteem of Yahuwah would be your rear guard. Then when you called, Yahuwah would answer. When you cry, he would say, "Here I am." If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and the speaking of unrighteousness, if you extend your being to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted being, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness be as noon. Then Yahuwah would guide you continually and satisfy your being in drought and strengthen your bones. And you shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of waters whose waters do not fail. And those from among you shall build the old waste places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you would be called the repairers of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. If you do turn back your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my set apart day, and shall call the Sabbath a delight, the set apart day of Yahuwah esteemed, and shall esteem it, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in Yahuwah. And I shall cause you to ride on the heights of the earth, and feed you with the inheritance of Yaakov your father, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken. These are our weapons in our warfare. When we can shine those lights against those who are trapped in that darkness, it is great works. It is going out and delivering people. That is pure and unadulterated worship before Elohim, is setting captives free, is taking care of those who are oppressed, orphans and widows, prisoners in their times of chains, to remember them, to pray for them, to intercede for them. This is what causes the joy to be restored. Like, the people were rejoicing when Philip was there, because they were getting set free and their eyes were being opened. Like when I came out of that water, if you haven't watched that Dangerous Dips in Nature Nate, like when I came out of that water, it was joy that came bursting out of me because it is a real thing. I deal with deep pain, pain of my soul, like a vexation of my soul. It doesn't always lift off. You know what I'm saying? I still deal with wounds, pain, that's suffering. And when I come out of that water, I get healing. I truly have joy restored to me. And that is like those who are dead in their trespasses and sins, who are dying in despair, who are without hope because they have spent all of their money on the physicians of this world trying to get healing, trying to get relief, trying to get freedom. And no one has come along and shown them that some of those great bodily strongholds that they're dealing with are spiritual roots of disease, that they need healing in the forms of prayer, they need healing in the forms of intercession, and they need people to lay hands on them so that they can be freed from demonic oppression, that they can be restored to their sound mind, like we read about with Nebuchadnezzar in our last episode. People need those witnesses, those faithful witnesses, those mighty warriors coming into their life, invading enemy occupied territory and setting captives free. That's when those signs and those wonders will follow us, because Yahuwah will he will give the witness of his Holy Spirit to empower us to do those deeds. That is a promise that we have. We can rest assured when we go out to war, when we go out to battle, he will provide us the supernatural reinforcements that we need in order to engage our adversaries and set captives free, because that's what we're here to do. We were born to go loosen the bonds of those that are in that oppression, to set them free and give them a firm foundations to stand upon. Anyways, I got to go. I love you guys so much. May you live courageously every single day of your life, because though the days are evil, know that you were born for such a time as this. Go live a valiant and courageous life. Set captives free and hunt the souls of men day and night. Love you all. I'll talk to you soon.